I am not your bank, Evan. Stop asking. That is what I said in the parking lot of a downtown coffee shop with my hands still sticky from the cinnamon glaze of a cronut I did not even want. My brother, male, 27 years old, stared at me over the roof of his dusty sedan like I had slapped him. He wanted $10,000 for his wedding loan, and I said no. He called me selfish. Our mother called me disloyal. And somewhere between the hiss of the espresso machine and the screech of the L overhead, I realized exactly how this would end. Not with a toast, but with a boundary so loud it would echo at every future holiday. If you stick around, you will hear the part where a brand new credit card shows up with my name on it and not my signature. Spoiler, it did not end the way anyone planned. I am me, female, 30 years old, a municipal budget analyst in Chicago with a studio that faces a brick wall and a microwave with a personality. My brother Evan works nights at a luxury event venue and days at a sneaker store when the manager does not notice he is sleeping in the stockroom. He is marrying Mia, female, 26 years old, a hairstylist with a Pinterest board so long you could wrap it around the block. The wedding Mia wants has a floral arch like a greenhouse exploded and a live band that charges extra if you cry during the father-daughter dance. When Evan asked me for the loan, he used the phrase, "invest in our beginning." My coffee tasted like burnt almonds. A wedding is a day, I said, and debt is a decade. He flinched like I had cursed. Be a sister, he said. Be a grown-up, I said. Am I wrong for not giving in? I had already offered to help with small things, programs, centerpieces, a few $100s, but 10,000? My spreadsheet brain threw up a red flag taller than the water tower. He left in a squeal of tires, and I watched my reflection in the coffee shop window, hair frizzed by February wind, eyes doing the math of my mistakes. On Clark Street, a bus lumbered past, puffing diesel. Somewhere inside it, someone had warm hands and no family group chat to dread. I went home, reheated leftover lasagna, and waited for the explosion. It arrived as 3 dots blinking, and then a flood. Family sticks together. You are ruining your brother's big day. We always knew you were like this. I put my phone face down and listened to the radiator tick, like it was counting how long I could keep my cool. I did not sleep. In the morning, I put on my gray blazer and my flat boots and walked to City Hall under a sky like old concrete. Numbers soothe me. Numbers do not yell. In a conference room that smells like dry erase markers and the ghost of 1,000 bagels, I spent 4 hours calculating the cost of resurfacing 23 blocks of potholes and 14 intersections. At lunch, my coworker Priya, female, 28 years old, slid me a half of her turkey club and mouthed, "You look like you have swallowed a lemon." I told her about the wedding, the loan, the guilt parade. She nodded and said, "My cousin tried that. I sent a link to the courthouse and a playlist." Priya is the kind of friend who can laugh at your life without laughing at you. She checked her phone and tilted it toward me. "By the way, your mom has posted on Facebook." The caption, "When family forgets what family means." The photo, an out-of-focus childhood picture of Evan and me in matching Cubs hats, me reaching for a foul ball that never came. "Wow," I said, "public relations." Priya said, "Do I comment or do I stage a fake robbery that distracts everyone?" Our boss poked her head in with a stack of budget packets and the smell of peppermint gum. "Everything good?" she asked. Priya said, "She is being extorted by florals." The boss blinked, laughed, and left. On my way home, I stopped at an independent bookstore because the fluorescent lights there make everybody pretty, and the cashier knows my name. I bought Mia a wedding planning book I could afford, and a sticky note that said, "Happy to help with details. Love, Nora." I am not heartless. I am careful. By the time I got back to my building, my phone had 42 messages. My mother had formed a posse. Aunt Teresa had used the phrase, "shameful." Uncle Jorge had offered to mediate. My father had texted a single line, "Call me when you can. I have thoughts." On my floor, the hallway smelled like someone burned toast. I unlocked my door and sighed so hard my plants shivered. "He didn't cheat, he built a double life," a podcast host said through my speaker. "Wrong show," I told her. Then I opened my email and saw the subject line that would turn the volume from loud to siren. Welcome to your new card. The email had confetti emojis and my full legal name. It referenced a credit limit that looks like a down payment on a used Subaru. The account had been opened on your behalf to make family dreams easier. My mouth tasted like pennies. I called the number and listened to gentle hold music while a recorded voice told me my wait time was 16 minutes and compassion was their highest value. The woman who eventually answered sounded like chamomile tea. I did not open this, I said. There is a wedding, she said brightly. Not mine, I said. We removed the authorized party and froze the account. I wrote down a case number in my planner with a squeaky pen I had stolen from a trade show. My hands shook. Then I did the thing therapists suggest. I called someone who tells the truth. My father, male, 58 years old, lives alone in a rental with a slanted porch and a driveway that always needs shoveling. He has been quietly divorced from my mother for 8 years, but loudly practical all my life. He answered before the second ring. The circus? He said instead of hello. I told him. He did not sigh because he never gives anyone the satisfaction. He said, freeze everything. I had already done that. He said, call the fraud unit at your bank. I wrote it on my list. He asked, do you think Mom did this? I wanted to say no because the word mother has its own gravity. But I also remembered the way my mother floats through consequences like a butterfly through a storm, somehow dry, somehow stunned that anyone else is wet. Should family always come first? I said out loud, amazed at how greasy the question felt in my mouth. Dad made a thoughtful noise. Family is who helps you wash the dishes after they eat, he said, not who throws plates and asks why you did not catch them. He asked me to send him screenshots, and I did, including the Facebook post and the group chat where my cousin had chimed in with, if everyone just Venmos 100. Dad sent back a single line, I will handle the adults. The word adults made me laugh until my stomach unclenched. I called the bank. I made more notes. I ate a banana that tasted like cardboard because fear ruins fruit. Then I texted Mia. Mia responded in a second. Hey, Nora, wedding emergencies are hitting, but call me. Her voice was breathy and upbeat when she picked up. I could hear a hairdryer roaring in the background and a woman complaining about bangs. I need to ask you something weird, I said. Did you or Evan open a credit card in my name? There was a silence so precise, I could hear someone's bobby pins clicking in a jar. What? She finally said. No! Her no had little shoes on it and ran around the room. I swear to God, I would never. I am not that girl. I believe you, I said, and I did. Mia overshares, but she does not lie. Then who? She asked in a voice like a drawer closing on a finger. I told her I had to figure it out, and maybe I would see her at dinner on Sunday if we were doing that. She hesitated. Your mom is hosting, she said. And you know I love her, but maybe we should do our own dinner tomorrow night, neutral ground? She suggested a chain restaurant in River North that smells like garlic and melted plastic. I said yes. When I hung up, I realized I felt lighter. Mia had chosen me, if only for an hour. The next day, I sat across from her in a booth while servers spun like ballerinas with trays of boiling pasta. She looked different without the wedding goggles, more like a person, less like a concept. He told me you said no, she said, picking at the corner of a menu. I told him to stop asking. I said we could cut the head count or the band or, honestly, the cake topper that costs more than our rent. He said he would figure it out. Her mouth twisted. He is great, she added quickly, and also, he thinks money is a vibe. A server dropped a plate near us. The smell of basil hit hard. My stomach announced it was alive. Do you want me to help you budget? Like, actually? No judgment, just math. She blinked at me and then nodded, eyes glossy. We scribbled on a napkin with a half-dead pen. No raw bar. Fewer flowers. DJ instead of band. I told her we could thrift vases. She told me her aunt could bake. We shaved the total by $6,000 like it was hair, not hope. When we looked up, Mia was smiling like she had found a 20 in a coat pocket. "You are more bridal than my bridal party," she said. I laughed and raised my water glass. "To small weddings and big marriages." She clanked and said, "To not going to prison over a cake stand." I paid the bill. In the parking garage, my phone lit up with my mother's name. "After everything I did," my mother said when I answered, as if I had heard her entire childhood play out through the speaker. "After all the sacrifices, you cannot even help your brother celebrate his love." I stood between a concrete pillar and my hatchback, breath clouding in the cold, and thought of every time my mother had told a story that made her the martyr and everyone else background noise. "Mom," I said, "did you open a credit card in my name?" The pause was shorter than I expected. "I put you on as an authorized user," she said, "to get the points. It was a surprise." "For who?" I asked. "Evan," she said softly, like his name was champagne. "He needs this. He deserves it. You have always had stability." Sometimes anger is a sudden thing, like a cat bolting from under a couch. Sometimes it is slow, like syrup. This was both. "No," I said, and the word had edges. "You do not get to write checks with my name because you think I can afford ink." She started crying, the silent cry she uses when the audience is small. "I only did it because you would not help," she said. "Exactly," I said. "That was the decision. Mine." We were both quiet, listening to our own breathing. My mother sniffed, regrouped, and tried a new script. "What if I pay it back, month by month? We can do it together. It will be a family thing." I looked at the greasy semicircle a car had left on the concrete and felt an entire childhood of being the responsible one click into place like a seatbelt. I am canceling the card. I am filing a fraud report. If you want points, go for a walk. "Nora," she said, my name a prayer. "This is not what family does." "Family does not steal," I said. "Family does not call theft a surprise." I hung up and pressed my forehead to the cold roof of my car. A couple nearby argued about leftovers. Someone's key fob chirped. Somewhere a baby wailed. "I am not your ATM." That line slid into my mind like a title on a thumbnail. I texted Dad. It was Mom. He wrote back, "Of course it was." Then, "We go to the bank tomorrow." If you have never sat in a bank lobby on a Tuesday morning with your father and a folder of documents labeled "just in case," you should try it once for humility. The carpet smells like old dollars, the coffee machine in the corner dispenses something beige that promises hazelnut and delivers regret. The fraud specialist was a rectangle of a man named Kenneth with patient eyebrows. I explained everything. Kenneth typed and nodded and occasionally said, He assured me the card was canceled, my credit frozen, a note added to my file. He asked if I wanted to press charges. The room tilted. My father watched me, still as a winter pond. "Not yet," I said. Kenneth gave me a business card that felt like a doorstop. From the bank, we drove to a diner that dates back to when eggs were cheap and the waitresses called everyone honey. Over pancakes the size of hubcaps, my father said, "You are going to get hit harder before they agree you are not a piñata." I buttered a corner and pretended I did not want to cry. "Do I skip the rehearsal dinner?" I asked. "Would you attend a wedding after this?" I did not know who I was asking, him or the entire internet. Dad put down his fork. "You go," he said, "on your terms. You do not explain, you do not defend, you bring a gift you can afford and a face you can live with. You do not drink anything you did not open yourself." I laughed. He did not. And when someone says family first, you ask which family and who is first. He sipped his coffee and added, "Also, you look great in red. Wear red. It helps you remember you have a pulse." I told him Priya would be proud. She loves an angry outfit. At work, I told Priya about the card, the bank, the diner. She said, "You are the main character in a movie where the villain is expectations." Then she handed me a list she made in her neat handwriting. Alternative venues, park permits, church rec halls, VFWs with hearts of gold. She had doodled a DJ wearing a halo. "If Mia wants help," she said, "I will cut burlap ribbon all night." For the first time in a week, I felt like something was not sliding out from under me. I texted Mia the list. She responded with 3 crying emojis and a picture of a thrift store punch bowl shaped like a swan. "It is ugly," she wrote, "so therefore I love it." The rehearsal dinner was at a gastropub where Edison bulbs hang like warm fruit, and the menu uses words like artisanal and on a bed of. I wore red, as instructed. Evan hugged me stiffly. Mia hugged me like she was trying to keep me from running away. My mother air-kissed me and smelled like peonies and stress. My Aunt Teresa said, "I hope you are ready to apologize," in a tone usually reserved for toddlers and drunk uncles. I said, "For what?" and took a seat at the end of the table where the tablecloth had an ink stain. The server poured wine. I kept my hand over my glass. Mia squeezed my knee under the table and mouthed, "Thank you." And for a second, I did not care if the building fell down. Halfway through the kale Caesar, my mother clinked a fork against her glass. "I want to say something," she announced. The table quieted like a classroom when a principal walks in. "Family," she began, looking directly at me, "means showing up when it matters." I felt my jaw set. "Family also means not committing fraud," I said calmly. The room gasped like we were in a soap opera. "Nora," my mother hissed, "do not humiliate us." I smiled, a small, tired smile. "You did that already." Evan stood up so fast his chair squealed. "You are making this about you," he said. "No," I said. "I am making this about my name and my credit and my ability to buy groceries without a red flag." Mia whispered, "What is happening?" Evan looked at her and something in his face changed. He is good at denial, but he is bad at being looked at by people he loves. "I did not know about the card," he blurted. "I did not ask her to do that." My mother's eyes flashed. "I was trying to fix it," she cried. "She said no. Someone had to fix it." Silence spread. A server dropped a spoon. It rang like a bell. Priya would have said, "Now is when you keep your mouth shut and let the room tell on itself." So I did. It worked. Uncle Jorge cleared his throat and said, "I think I will be contributing exactly $0 to anything but sensible casseroles." Aunt Teresa folded her napkin like it was a weapon. Evan sat down and put his head in his hands. Mia took a long breath and exhaled like she was setting down a heavy box. "We are cutting the guest list and the band," she said, "and we are paying for it ourselves." My mother sputtered. "I will not be attending," she declared. No one begged her to reconsider. The kale was bitter and perfect. The wedding pivoted overnight. The band was replaced by a playlist curated by Mia's 16-year-old cousin who knows how to make people dance. The florist agreed to fewer flowers if Mia let the trainee practice on 2 arrangements. The venue laughed at the idea of a discount, so Mia found a church hall with vintage paint and a custodian named Frank who insisted on giving them 3 extra hours because love is not punctual. Priya, who owed me nothing, spent Saturday morning with me at a thrift store smelling like lemon oil and old coats, hunting for mismatched vases. We ate street tacos out of foil on the curb, hot grease dripping onto our napkins. "You can make a life out of less," she said, "but not out of debt you did not choose." My gift was a hand-stitched quilt I had been working on for months, made from fabric scraps of our childhood, a swatch from Evan's old baseball jersey, a slice of a faded apron from Grandma's kitchen, the corner of a picnic blanket that had survived 2 Fourths of July and 1 dropped pie. I tied a note to it, "For warmth when the music stops." The ceremony was simple. Mia walked down the aisle to a cover of a love song no one will admit they like. Evan cried at the vows, which I will tease him about until we are elderly, if we make it that far. When the pastor pronounced them husband and wife, everybody cheered, even the toddler who had been slapping the pew for 20 minutes. At the reception, in a room that hummed like a beehive and smelled like sheet cake and lemon cleaner, Evan pulled me aside. He looked smaller, like guilt had been a size too big and he had finally taken it off. "I am sorry," he said. "I should have shut it down. I should have told her to stop." "Yes," I said, because "it is okay" would be a lie. "We are good?" he asked. I looked at him, my brother, who once traded me a holographic baseball card for my extra string cheese, who once shoved me into a swimming pool, then fished me out. "We are good, if it stays good," I said. He nodded. Then he grinned in the way that makes people forgive him against their will. "You look like a stop sign," he said, flicking the sleeve of my red dress. "That is the point," I said. Around 9, the playlist switched to throwbacks. I danced with Mia under twinkle lights that flickered every time someone plugged in a crock pot. She whispered, "Thank you for the budget and the vases and, honestly, for the spine." I said, "You grew your own." Across the room, my mother was notably absent. My father, in a suit that still smelled like cedar from his closet, ate his second slice of cake and did not complain. I felt, for the first time in a week, like nobody owned me. If you want the tidy ending, I will not give it to you. Tidy would be my mother apologizing and me accepting, and everyone posing for photos in a golden hour haze while tiny birds tie ribbons in Mia's updo. Real endings are messier. The next day, I filed the last piece of paperwork with the bank. The fraud alert sits on my credit report like a guard dog I feed occasionally. My mother has not called. She sent a text that said, "You went too far," and a meme about gratitude. I sent back, "Return the point card, keep your dignity," and then I blocked her for a week. Not forever. Boundaries are rooms with doors, not exit signs. Is loyalty to family more important than self-respect? The Monday after the wedding, I took the vases back to the thrift store because stories are nicer when you leave the world better than you found it. On my way out, I bought a coffee from a cart that sells pastries that flake like secrets and coffee that smells like chocolate. The sky was bright enough to hurt. Priya texted me a selfie of her in sunglasses with the caption, "We survived capitalism and carnations." Dad called to ask if the bank had followed up. They had. Kenneth, our rectangular angel, confirmed the charges would be reversed and my credit restored. "You handled it," Dad said. "I am proud of your boring paperwork." I laughed so hard I choked on a crumb. Would you attend a wedding after this? I did, and I wore red and nothing exploded except the confetti cannons someone smuggled in. Later that week, Evan and Mia came over to my studio. We ate dumplings from paper cartons that left damp rings on my coffee table. They brought me a scented candle that smells like fig and apology. "We are starting a savings account," Mia announced, "for emergencies that are not other people." Evan rolled his eyes but nodded. "I am deleting Afterpay," he added solemnly, like a sinner laying down his sin. We sat in comfortable quiet for a minute. Outside, my neighbor's dog barked at a pigeon with authority. "Do we invite Mom to Thanksgiving?" Evan asked eventually. I took a deep breath. "We set the terms," I said. "If she can talk to me without whitewashing what she did, she can sit at a table I am at. If not, she can host a dinner for her points somewhere else." It was not a grand plan. It was enough. Should I go no contact permanently? I do not know yet. For now, I will go no contact with the version of her that thinks my signature is hers. The apartment smelled like ginger and soy sauce. Someone below us turned up a radio. A trumpet blared joy. I looked at my brother, whose eyelashes would win awards, and his wife, who had figured out that forever is made of Wednesdays and coupons and laughter when the lights flicker. I thought about the first line of this whole thing, "I am not your bank," and how sometimes saying no is the most generous yes you can offer to your future self. "He didn't cheat, he built a double life," the podcast host had said. For me, the line is simpler. I did not betray you. I finally chose me. And that is when I realized love is not proof of trust. Behavior is.